What? Did you think I was going to use the same music for book 2? Come on, I've got 8 music tracks, 1 for each book, and they're even themed to the books as well. So, it's time for The Way of Tiger, book 2. Here we go. I am Ninja. My parents are the heaven and the earth. My home is my body. My power is loyalty. My magic is training. My life and my death is breathing. My body is control. My eyes are the sun and the moon. My ears are sensitivity. My laws are self-protection. My strength is adaptability. My ambition is taking every opportunity with fullness. My friend is my mind. My enemy is carelessness. My protection is right action. My weapons are everything that exists. My strategy is one foot in front of the other. My trust is in Quan. My way is the way of the tiger. Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more of The Way of the Tiger. Now I left off here mid-section last time for a very obvious reason. Very obvious, that is, if you're familiar with this book. It was a good point to end the last episode, and much more importantly, a very good point to begin this one. Last time we had rescued a peasant girl from the Hanya and her Obakemono accomplice. There was another alternative path we could have taken, which would have also required us to use up Cassandra's dagger and the blood of Nil. It turns out that in the future that option may have been more rewarding. And we have walked away from our endeavour with a couple of injuries. So we'll just have to see how things go. The road winds up the mountain, a sheer drop on one side. As evening approaches, you round the corner and sight the palace of Lord Kiamo. It lies in a shallow valley between two peaks, surrounded by magnificent ornamental gardens, and a high stone wall punctuated by tall watchtowers. The main gate is hung with banners emblazoned with the mons of Kiamo, glittering in the sun. You approach the guards at the gate and hand them the ivory token. Without a word, they lead you through the gates and into a large open area. A sorry sight greets your eyes. It is filled with hundreds of tired and dirty warriors, many wounded and some dying. But there is victory in the air, despite their pain and fatigue. Presently you are led into a richly furnished reception hall, where you are asked politely to wait. Your guards bow and leave you. A man in white robes adorned with stylized flowers of deep ultramarine comes into the hall. He has 2 swords, one long and the other short, tucked into a sash at his waist. He introduces himself as Onikaba, Kiamo's chief advisor, and tells you he has recently returned from the island of Tranquil Dreams, where he has talked much with the Grandmaster of the Dawn. It seems they know of your success in retrieving the scrolls of Kettsuin, and they pray to Quan for your safe return. He leads you into a long chamber of polished wood, where Lord Kiamo sits cross-legged in front of a low table, covered in scrolls and maps. Armed samurai line the walls. He motions for you to sit beside him, and tea is served. He is a man in middle years, his shoulders and arms heavy with muscle from repeated practice with the sword. A white bandage sways his left shoulder, a recent wound. Then Yaemon speaks, and since he's going to speak, I'm going to use my inhaler, because I've been a bit short of breath so far. It's been one of those days. Yes, I know it's gone 2 in the morning, but I've had a lot to do. Your fame has come before you, ninja and avenger. The followers of Vile, Nemesis, and Vashro are howling for your blood, whilst the followers of other gods are laughing up their sleeves. All that is clean and wholesome on Orb is rejoicing. I congratulate you. He bows before you. You thank him, and he continues. You are too late to help us here, I am afraid. Luckily, we managed to win a great victory without your aid. An evil daimyo, Jikyu, had massed a large army of ronin, bandits, and bakemono or goblins, with which he had conquered most of the south. He had the aid of the priests of Nemesis and the monks of Vile, and had planned an invasion of the island of Tranquil Dreams. Jikyu tried to force the pass in the mountains, but we were ready for him and defeated him in a close-run battle. The south is liberated and the road to Aiga is open. Your grandmaster has sent a monk, Gorobe, to meet you. He signals to his retainers, who usher the monk in. You recognize the tall, powerful frame of Gorobe from the Temple of the Rock. He greets you, and you embrace each other. It is good to see you again, Avenger, he says, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Long have we prayed for you. We shall travel to Aiga tomorrow and take ship homeward. He smiles happily. Yaemon says, You may rest here as my honored guest tonight. The guest house has been prepared for you. My bannerman, Hatamoto, Hizen, and 6 samurai shall be with you. Oh, no, that's one name. My bannerman, Hatamoto Hizen, and 6 samurai shall be your honor guard. You take your leave of Yaemon and Gorobe and follow Hizen. I imagine many of you may remember Gorobe from the very beginning of the first book. Our wrestling champion, who we had to beat to prove we were ready to follow the way of the tiger. We were both competing for ninja status, and it was a tough encounter. It's nice to see him be friendly and supportive, and to know that there's no hard feelings over our previous contest. Hatamoto Hizen and 6 samurai lead you through the ornamental gardens to the guest house in the palace grounds. You cross a tranquil pond covered with white lilies and pass through a sweet-smelling glade filled with flowering plants and trees arranged carefully, giving an effect of ordered beauty. The setting sun bathes the gardens of the palace in deep crimson light. A feeling of peace and calm comes over you. Presently, you follow a stone path that winds between 2 stone lanterns to the red and black lacquered double doors of the guest house. It is a pagoda-like structure with a tiled roof and paper-thin walls. Hizen leads you through the doors into a lavishly furnished room with ornately carved chests, wall hangings and screens adorned with simple watercolor paintings of birds, flowers, and landscapes. You follow him through a sliding door into an inner courtyard where a fountain tinkles quietly into a basin that overflows into a stone pool. Looking up, you see the moon rising. Hizen goes on through another sliding door on the left into a larger room where a long, low table is laden with steaming bowls of rice, crisp fried vegetables, and strips of marinated raw fish. Suddenly you realize how hungry you are, and you sit cross-legged, your back to two sliding doors on a tatami or mat to eat. Hizen sits with you and tells you that 3 of the samurai will be on guard outside the guest house at all times, 1 on patrol, the others at the front and back of the house. "Rest and recuperate, ninja," he says. "Indeed, you are tired after your long ordeal." A young girl in white robes serves tea and retires to a kitchen through one of the 3 sliding doors in the room. Ahead of you there is an alcove in which rests a print of a samurai warrior slaying a large winged and clawed serpent. After you have eaten, Hizen shows you to a room beside the kitchen lit by an hour candle, where a steaming bath and a futon or mattress are waiting for you. He departs, wishing you a good night's sleep. So far, so good. The bath is invigorating, and you feel refreshed and cleansed as you lie down on the futon to sleep, a pleasant fatigue stealing over you. Soon you are deep in sleep and dreaming. A vivid image comes into your mind. You are on a featureless expanse of nothingness. A tiger's head floats before you. Its fur is pure white, and its eyes, completely blue, gaze serenely upon you, filling you with quiet strength and calm. Suddenly its mouth opens, revealing a gaping maw lined with many razor-sharp, blood-stained teeth, and it roars. A rushing wind blows forth, smothering you in a fetid, choking stench, and another face grows out of the yawning blackness of the mouth, completely blotting out the white tiger's and its blue eyes, still serene and somehow imbued with tranquility. Ahead of you now is the face of a ninja, the black hood obscuring all features save 2 black eyes glinting malevolently. You wake with a start, and as consciousness returns, you find yourself sitting bolt upright, bathed in sweat and breathing hard. The night is still and deathly quiet. The candle, still flickering, tells you that you've been asleep for about 3 hours. Will you return to sleep, knowing your tired body needs rest to recuperate, or get up to talk to the guards? Clearly the god Quan, in his visage of the tiger, has warned me. He was watching over me peacefully, and now he is angry that some great threat, presumably another ninja, is working against me. I should not rest. Now is not the time for sleep. I shall get up to speak to the guards. You get to your feet and don the costume of the ninja before walking to the door and sliding it open. The eyes of the dying clawed and winged serpent seem to glare at you knowingly from the print opposite, the colours like shadows in the faint glow of your candle. You cross the room and, sliding open another door, step into the inner courtyard. The pool, rippling gently, reflects the pale light of the moon as it lends the cloudless night a ghostly luminescence. The air is filled with the rich scent of the ornamental gardens and the sound of insects and bullfrogs. It is warm and close. There is no breeze. Everything is quiet and peaceful, but the night still seems full of tense expectancy. Silent as a shade, you cross the courtyard, slide open the door, step in, and slide it shut in one fluid motion. You're in almost complete darkness in the first room of the guest house. You stand as still as a rock, your senses straining, reaching out into the almost tangible blackness ahead.
Alarms seem to ring wildly in your head, but you find nothing. After a while, you move on. By memory, you thread your way quietly through the furnishings to the front door, ears straining and spine tingling. You feel charged with nervous anticipation, yet all seems still, and you can sense nothing unusual in the room. You're about to open the door when, for some reason, you pause to listen, although you know all should be well here in the palace grounds of the only shogun for 300 years. This must be the most heavily guarded place on all Lemne. You hear nothing save a leaden sigh of boredom. You pull the door open just a little and look out. One of the samurai is leaning against a pillar, arms folded, humming to himself as the patrolling samurai continues around the house. You step out and he turns a brief look of horror on his face as he sees your ninja costume, before he smiles with greeting and not a little relief as he recognizes you. "What brings you out in the dawn hours, sir? Only the dead and poor unfortunate guards like myself walk at this hour." At this, you begin to feel foolish and curse yourself for behaving like a frightened rabbit. You relax like a taut bowstring that is unstrung. You tell the guard you couldn't sleep and stand deep in meditation until you notice your complete stillness and detached manner are making the guard feel uncomfortable, so you nod good night and return into the house. Interesting. You move from the light of the moon to the blackness of the interior and to the door that leads to the courtyard. You pull at the handle to slide it open, but it only moves a fraction before jamming. You try again, but it won't move. In an instant, all of your senses are alive, and the hairs on your neck prickle with anticipation and suspicion. You crouch and turn quietly, convinced something is wrong. Then a sound reaches you from outside. A quiet but sharp sound suddenly cut off, as if something metal had been dropped and then muffled before it could begin ringing. Like the weapon or armor of a guard. Will you go outside and investigate the noise? Hide behind one of the chests in the corner of the room? Or, if you have the skill of lockpicking, try to open the jammed door? Well, whoever has jammed the door will not expect people to be able to open it. They may expect me to be able to open it, but not any allies, and if we open the door, other people can come through it as well. If we go back outside to where someone's probably just killed a guard, the killer is likely to be there, and if we come out the door, we're acting blind, right? Whereas they can probably see us coming out. We could hide behind one of the chests and form our own ambush. I think we should trick the trickster and pick the lock this time. You reach into a pocket of your costume and draw out a long, flat strip of metal. You insert it between door and wall and move it up. It comes up against something and you give a little push. Whatever it is falls off the other side of the door with a quiet clatter and lands on the floor of the inner courtyard. We've made a noise. Dropping to rest on your haunches, you slide the door open and spin through, your senses still screaming with a thrill of unseen danger. As you close the door, you see a short length of metal with a hook at either end on the floor. Somebody must have deliberately jammed it shut from the courtyard. You turn to scan the inner courtyard and the edges of the roof when you hear a muffled sound from the room you have just come from. A faint scraping. Perhaps not a sound at all. What will you do? You may wish to scale the wall of the inner courtyard to the roof, an easy climb for which you do not need the skill of climbing. Although we have the skill, you may press your back against the wall, melting into the shadows to the right of the door you have just come through. Or open the door and go back into the first room of the house as quickly and quietly as possible. If there's something in there, we should remember these walls are paper thin, so flattening ourselves against a wall may not be wise. Just opening the door and going back in was also probably not great. Let's climb up onto the roof. It ought to give us a better vantage point. You jump and grab a supporting wooden strut and swing up onto the tiled roof as agilely and as silently as a cat. You crawl along the roof until you can see over and down to the steps in front of the house. At the foot of the steps lies the samurai guard, face down. A ribbon of blood, almost black in the dull light, oozes from his neck into the earth. What is unmistakably a shuriken, almost identical to your own, is embedded in the back of his neck. It is silver, seeming to glow in the moonlight, and inlaid with thin bands of ebony, shaped into a whirlpool or vortex symbol. One of the Chaos Gods. Will you drop quietly down to the main doors at the front of the house, or stay where you are and await events? I think, if memory serves, we don't want to stay up here, but we want to actually hop down again. I think I will do just that. And I hope I don't live to regret it. You ease yourself off the roof and swing to the pillared cloister of the boardwalk by the red and black lacquered doors. Everything is quiet, save for the crickets and the rustle of the trees as a night breeze blows up. Suddenly the doors open and you are face to face with a figure, startling in its similarity to your own. He is dressed as you, save for the curved scabbarded sword or ninja toe strapped to his back, and crouches in an attitude of quiet stealth. The black eyes, glittering in the moonlight through the slit of his wrap-around hood, widen in surprise. He did not expect to see you here. He reacts instinctively, leaping back and slamming the doors, but you are ready for this and leap into the air, delivering a flying winged horse kick, smashing the doors aside with a resounding crash. He is halfway across the room and he whirls with a curse just as your hand blurs, sending a shuriken flying towards him. Make a shuriken roll. Here we go. Our first roll of the episode, and we miss. Let's mark it off. At least we have... Well, here we go. Your shuriken hurtles towards his throat, and his eyes widen with astonishment, but with a shout and in one incredibly swift motion he reaches up with both hands, drawing his sword, and knocks the shuriken aside. There is the clear ring of steel on steel and a whirring hum as the shuriken twists away, followed by a crisp tearing sound as it goes in and out through the paper-thin wall. There is a pause as you both stare at each other, the insistent flutter of shreds of the torn wall in a sudden night breeze echoing the flurry of explosive violence. He stands, presenting only the side of his body to you, right foot forward, left knee bent and at right angles to his body, sword hip pointing up at your throat, arms extended. You begin to circle each other warily. And there we have an image. Your opponent speaks, his voice flat and emotionless. I am Ninja. I follow the way of the Scorpion. I have slain all your guards, and I shall slay you, thus proving that the way of the Scorpion overshadows the way of the Tiger, just as the power of Nemesis overshadows the power of Quan. With that, he launches into a devastating attack, his sword a blur as it flashes through the air. You must try to block it. Your defense is 7. And as we know, he has to roll over a 7 to hit us, so that is a successful defense. Excellent. Perhaps the way of the Scorpion does not overshadow the way of the Tiger just yet. But still, we're going to have to be careful. Ooh, so careful. He lunges at your stomach. You sweep the blade aside with your forearm and he brings it up and down at your head. At the last moment, you manage to whip your left forearm up and across your forehead, the force of the blow almost breaking your arm, but the iron rods in your sleeve hold as they ring like a hammer hitting an anvil. As he steps back and slashes at your legs with mind-boggling speed, you jump high over the sword's path and land on your feet. You are just in time to twist your right forearm up across your chest and catch the blade before it bites into your neck. Seconds later, you bring it back to the left and take another blow, which is aimed at the other side of your neck. The high-pitching clang of steel on steel echoes into the night, and the sleeves of your costume hang in tatters, fluttering in the breeze from the open doors. The other ninja steps back and pauses, breathing heavily, left arm extended towards you, fingers spread, his right arm behind his head, the blade of his sword pointed down at your throat, an attack to test your skill. You have a brief moment in which to act. Will you throw a shuriken? Or, if you have the skills, spit a poison needle at him. We have no poison needles, so another throwing star it shall be. You send a shuriken hurtling towards him, but he pulls his sword arm across, and there is a ringing sound as he deflects it with his forearm. He too has iron sleeves. As your eyes follow his block, you fail to notice that he is reaching into his costume with his other hand and throwing something at you in return. It appears to be an egg, and you have no time to dodge. Do you have the skill of arrow cutting? Yes, we do. We got it way back in the first book at character creation. And we will utilize it right now. It's not even a choice. Your reflexes take over and you slap the egg aside with your hand. It curls through the air and shatters against the wall, staining it with pepper and other substances that are already eating into the wall. A device to blind, something unknown by the ninjas of the island of Tranquil Dreams. Very good, he says sarcastically. One could almost believe that you had some sort of training as a ninja after all, despite the paltry way you follow. Wasting no time in speech, you take the chance to spring forward and attack. Will you try the forked lightning strike kick, the tiger's paw chop, or the whirlpool throw? As a ninja, I imagine he will not be quite as surprised by throws. I'm going to go for the tiger's paw chop. He thrusts at your chest. You act quickly, stepping in and blocking his sword arm with your left arm, then hacking down at the side of his neck with your right hand. The ninja has 19 endurance points. Let's hope to reduce that significantly. His defense against the tiger's paw chop is a 6. We have a +1 punch modifier. So we hit him. Excellent. For 5 damage, reducing him to 14 endurance. Or, to put it another way, bringing him down to our level. Let's hope I did not speak too soon. We have not reduced him to no endurance. If he still has endurance, he spins away and then feints at your head before bringing his sword down in a wide arc, hoping to cut you from left shoulder to right hip. Your defense against this is 7 as you try to cartwheel away. Let's see. He rolled a 7. He needs over a 7 to hit us. We're okay. If you survive the attack, you can try a forked lightning strike kick, a whirlpool throw, or another tiger's paw chop. Now, we may be able to throw him once or twice, but he'll probably get pretty wise to it pretty soon. And if we fail to throw, he's got a sword, which is pretty bad for us, as a throw will generally involve coming within his striking range and making ourselves vulnerable. I'll try for the kick to see how it differs. And from this I can see that the punches are a bit of a weakness of his. You dart back, avoiding a wicked sword thrust, and then in, driving your foot at his abdomen and then up at his throat with lightning speed. We do have a +1 kick modifier, so I should absolutely be just rolling that right now. Bosh! Double 6, 13, absolute kick. I should have considered using my last point of inner force. Oh well. It's still a kick though, so it'll be good damage. Right, yeah, well I rolled a 1 for damage there, so 3 points takes him down to 11. Okay. If he still has endurance, he cuts savagely at your extended leg. Your defense against this is 7. Let's hope we can survive another one of his attacks. He rolled a 2 and a 1. We're good. It would seem the way of the tiger holds strong. If you survive the attack, you try a tiger's paw chop, a whirlpool throw, or kick again. I'll go for the tiger chop. We don't have to shout judo chop as we do this. It really doesn't help. Oh, did he have different damage in the kick section? That's interesting. 55. Yes! Okay. So, that may be an inconsistency. Or it could be that he has higher defense against the kick, but deals less damage with his counterattack. Interesting. Well then, it's time for the judo chop after all. He thrusts at your chest. You act quickly, stepping in and blocking his sword arm with your left arm, then hacking down up the side of his neck with your right hand. Let's do it. And this time, I will use our kick modifier, a punch modifier correctly. 8! That is a perfect punch, and we chop him for 3 more damage, taking him down to 8. Now at this point, he needs at least 2 hits to kill us. We could drop him with 1 kick, especially if we use inner force. However, he spins away, then feints at your head before bringing his sword down in a wide arc, hoping to cut you from left shoulder to right hip. Our defense against this is 7. Okay. He rolled a 4. Miraculously, the tiger protects us. Quan is merciful. Okay. I think we're going to try for a throw. He thrusts at your chest. You act quickly, stepping in and blocking his sword arm with your left arm, then twisting with him, trying to yank him over your hip and to the ground. This one's basically an Aikido throw, isn't it? Essentially. The ninja's defense against the whirlpool throw is a 6. We do not have a throw modifier, so we're just straight up rolling. We got a 9. Excellent. If you are successful, you throw him over your hip and he flips in midair and lands agilely on his feet, spinning to face you. However, your next attack catches him unprepared. You may either use the tiger's paw chop or the forked lightning strike kick, adding 1 to your attack modifier for this attack only. In which case, we know that his defense is 1 higher against the kick, but he deals less damage with the counter attack. And this extra 1 point of attack modifier will counter that 1 point of his defense difference. So I'll go for the kick. And I think this is an inner force kick. Actually, wait. I could do an inner force punch. And then I'd need... then I'd need to roll a 4 for damage. Whereas for an inner force kick, I'd only need to roll a 2. No, we'll go for the kick. A mighty cry will let out that energy, which I will not attempt to emulate because it's 2:49 in the morning. You dart back, avoiding a wicked sword thrust, and then in. And then in, driving your foot at his abdomen, then up at his throat with lightning speed and inner force to boot. Not that the ninja gets to wear a boot. So... 2d6 plus 2. We roll a double 1 and miss completely. He cuts savagely at your extended leg without a plus 2 modifier. And misses again. Wow. Okay. I don't think we can risk another throw. Because if we missed a throw, we were directed to section 133, which is not just a normal, okay, if you miss the throw, pick your next move and, he'll make a counterattack. It's like, oh no, something special. We don't want something special. Not when we're fighting another ninja. We're out of inner force. If we go for the punch, he'll deal more damage, but his defense will be lower. Okay, we'll go for the punch. Sure. The karate chop. So we'll dart in, past the sword, and attack. Just 2d6 plus 1 this time, no extra bonus. 7 is over his defense of 6. That is a successful punch. For 6 whole damage. The ninja of the Way of the Scorpion has been reduced to 2 endurance points to our 14. I don't want to jinx it. He spins away, then feints at your head before bringing his sword down in a wide arc, hoping to cut you from left shoulder to right hip. He's getting a bit repetitive here. Our defense against this is a 7. And we could always block. Right. So blocking is slightly harder. So he'd normally need an 8 to hit. For this attack. The fact that we're blocking, we're now trying to roll under, right? Because we're trying to make it a miss again. But he's got a plus and bonus, so we're trying to roll a 6 or less on 2 dice. I think we just take the hit. Because failing to do so will reduce. Right, so this equal to or greater than your defense. You take the damage in a normal way. Yeah. So instead of an 8 hitting, a 7 will now hit. We'll just take the hit. And in this section, he is dealing d6 plus 2. Three whole points. We are reduced to 11. Which, yes, wounds us, but we're in pretty good stead. A kick will finish him, whatever damage we do. A punch is a little more risky. We'll go with the kick. Because why not? I know why not, because his defense against it is higher. But we're doing it anyway. You dart back, avoiding a quick sword thrust, and then in. Right. You dart... Avoiding. We need a bigger separation between back and avoiding. You dart back, avoiding a quick sword thrust, and then in, driving your foot at his abdomen and then up at his throat with lightning speed. And we kick for 2d6 plus 1. Please. We miss completely. Right, well, he retaliates. A 7 will miss. I say we kick again. We absolutely just kick again. We get him. Down he goes. Whatever we roll, let's just roll it anyway. Rolling for the overkill. 5 points is 3 points overkill. At last, the enemy ninja is defeated. The way of the scorpion has not defeated the way of the tiger. With both hands, your opponent cuts straight down at your head, the blade a blur, its tip arcing from a point near a small of his back to the top of your head. In an instant, you clap your hands together inches above your head, trapping the blade, a feat of extraordinary judgment and coordination. Still holding the blade, you jump and drive the ball of your foot into the ninja's throat with a cry, and thus effect a leaping tiger kick. It smashes into his throat. His arms fly up and he sails backwards to crash in a heap, the blow killing him instantly. You are left, the blade still in your hands. The victor in the silent, empty house. Exhausted, you sleep where you are, a deep sleep haunted by gliding black shapes that seem intent on killing you. But you wake somewhat refreshed, gain free endurance. You may retrieve any shuriken you have used before you set off to Kiyamo's palace. Interestingly, we are not fully healed, so it's not the end of the adventure yet, even though it feels as if it might be. I don't remember anything after this. Interesting. You are shown in to see Kiyamo, and he listens quietly whilst you relate the night's events. When you have finished, he says, "I am ashamed that such a thing could have happened in my house. Thank Ao that you are formidable. Blah. Thank Ao that you are so formidable that I did not have the loss of your life on my conscience, as well as that of Hizen and the 6 guards." You reply, "Do not feel shamed, Lord. There is nothing you could have done in any case. He was ninja." He looks at you for a long moment, and then shivers and drops his gaze. "Yes, indeed." There is a pause. Then he continues in a louder voice. "Today you may travel to Aiga. I shall send a force of 5,000 men to accompany you. There is still much work to be done in the south. May Ao's blessings go with you." You take your leave, and a few hours later you and Gorobei are heading south. In 2 days' time you're at the port of Aiga, on board a ship bound for the island of tranquil dreams. Your spirit soars like a bird at the thought of home. At long last, the golden shores of the island of tranquil dreams shimmer beyond the breaking waves like a mirage. The wind grinds gently onto the sand, and you leap down at the sea's edge and walk towards the great red rock that rests alone in the desert. The Temple of Quan nestles beneath it, its darkest vaults deep within its confines. Before the tiger-head doors stands the grandmaster of the dawn. You bow and present the scrolls of Kettsuin, saying the words of time-honored ritual. "I have completed my mission, grandmaster of grandmasters." He places his hand on your shoulder and says, "You are the savior of all that is good on Orb, even of the temple itself. I named you truly, Avenger. You will be the scourge of injustice for as long as you live." There's a great feast in your honor that evening, and the villagers cheer you to the echo, while Gorobei tells them, the villagers cheer you to the echo. That is odd. There's a great feast in your honor that evening, and the villagers cheer you to the echo, while Gorobei tells you of your exploits. The children dance around you, and you are festooned with flowers. You rest alone on the next day until the Grandmaster of Dawn comes to your cell. He squats low on the floor beside you and says, Honoric still lives. He has sworn vengeance. He survived even the blood of Nil, though he was near death for some weeks. Word has just reached us that the Legion of the Sword of Doom prepares once more for war. But enough of this. You cannot bear the cares of the world on your shoulders at all times. Come, there is little left that I can teach you, but what I can, I will. Tomorrow I will tell you something that has been hidden from you. The time has come for me to tell you who your parents were, who you are, you who have become Avenger, the most deadly warrior of them all. And the adventure will continue in Book 3 of The Way of the Tiger, Usurper. I'm pretty sure we get to master a new skill. According to, I will save that for the end of the book. Looks like I took... Oh, we get special skills this book. Yes, not normal skills. Right, okay. Well, in that case, I have successfully... very successfully, with no rerolls or anything, you know, completed this book. Yeah, I would have had to go back and just, like, replay the whole thing until I'd beat Mardol. And honestly, the dice rolls in that fight were freaky. Both mine and his. It did not go well. I mean, it's a hard fight anyway, because you go into it after 2 other fights already. But there we have it. Another adventure down. Our ninja monk has completed his mission. And for now, I'm going to let our ninja rest a little. There's going to be a short break before I begin Book 3. I have a couple of other games I want to focus on, and maybe I'll do another game book in between as a gap filler. I was talking about doing more Golden Dragon, and of course there's the intent to start a Lone Wolf marathon at some point as well. Maybe next year for Lone Wolf. We'll see how it goes. Look, it could still happen before next year. You know, it's just we're nearly halfway through the 11th month, so, you know, it might be better to just wait till the new year to start a big new series. Well, there we have it. Our ninja is triumphant. I hope you've all enjoyed this playthrough, and don't worry, it won't be too long before I start Book 3. A week or 2 at the most, possibly even less than that. For now, though, it's gone 3 o'clock in the morning, and my throat needs a rest. Wow, I was not expecting the enemy ninja to miss that many attack rolls. That fight could have easily gone worse. I mean, it would have been great if my first ninja star had actually hit him, you know, because that would have done 3 points of damage and made it a bit easier. I think if we'd gone and... So, I think there's a... It's like, unlock the door, go outside, go back inside, hide in the corner behind the chests, and then ambush him as he comes in, or something like that. There's a way you can get a slightly better advantage at the beginning of the fight, but only slightly. It's still a pretty tough one, you know, he does decent damage. And I will look in the full color reprints to see if his damage at section 55 is different to his damage at 304. And yeah, he uses a lot of poison, that ninja. And if you fail to throw him, he poisons you. Yeah, we're immune to poison, but he obviously knows you're going to be immune to poison after the first 1 or 2 times, and then does something about it. So yeah, we did well. Hope you guys all enjoyed that one, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the next video pretty soon. I'll say bye for now, everyone, and remember to follow the way of the tiger.